Hello, my name is Stephen G. I'm a professor at South Dakota State University. I'm also a founder of a small startup company called RTutor. Today I'm going to talk about how to use ChatGPT to code. I'll go through several sections here. So the first thing is a demo. I'll show you how to use RTutor, Chatlize, and ChatGPT, and also the GitHub Copilot to writing code with the help of ChatGPT. And the second part, I will go through some basics of ChatGPT. The third section is the lessons I learned while using ChatGPT for coding. And lastly, I'll very briefly touch upon some autonomous AI agents that can achieve more complicated things than. Before I get started with the main content, let me start with a short story. In 1980s, I was a middle school student in rural China, a very small village. I had to take history classes. I don't like it because there's so many dynasties and empires and things to remember. But one picture caught my eye is this picture where it depicts how people farmed in the 12th century. And it struck me that the same technology was still in use in my village at that time. Farm actually essentially has been the same for thousands of years if you go back to China now. So in the very short 40 years, we had explosive growth in innovation in terms of technology. Technology can stay the same for thousands of years. Once there is a breakthrough and the innovation can be exponentially fast. Today, we are in the tipping point of a breakthrough in artificial intelligence and will forever change the way that we work. Just like the internal steam engines and later on the internal combustible engines changed physical labor, generative AI and particularly large language models are going to change fundamentally how we do a lot of mental tasks, especially these routine and boring tasks like collecting information, communicating, even generating a lot of content. For example, these are the generative AI related announcement in just 1 week in March. You can see anywhere from Microsoft Office to image to text. There's a lot of innovation. And these are major ones. For smaller ones, you have hundreds of smaller tools per week. So you can see we are in an even faster and faster pace in terms of innovation. And the last week, one of the very important things that was announced is that Microsoft are announcing the ChatGPT integration into the Microsoft ecosystem. So the Microsoft Copilot so it was integrated into Windows. You can talk to the operating system. You can use that in terms of Bing search and also Microsoft 365 in Word, PowerPoint, Excel. And also you can do some, there's a designer tool that you can use to generate content. 5 years from now, we probably are going to work very differently. And we probably going to get used to using generative AI in our everyday lives. And we will have a hard time imagining how people worked even without these large language models. Almost the same thing as of today, we imagine how people work all days without internet. The productivity and gain, I think this is a paper that came out last week that is documenting that did experiment on over 700 consultants, I think in a big consulting firm. I think it's probably Boston Consulting. And half of the people was using AI and half wasn't. And they compared both the productivity gain and also surprisingly the quality of the work is also much higher. As you can see, here is the graph for the quality of the work, noticeably different between the people who used AI and those who hasn't used AI. Revolution of AI is going on right now. If you call this hype and ignoring this trend, like this guy, and it will be less competitive in terms of. I'm going to show you some demo. The first one I'm going to show you is RTutor. This is a website I developed last December, and the new website I developed was called Chatlize. While RTutor enables you to chat with your data, so to speak, analyzing data just by chatting in plain English or Japanese or Spanish, Chatlize was designed to be more flexible and can handle more complex computational tasks. Thirdly, I'm going to go through ChatGPT plus an IDE integrated development environment, and this will follow up with ChatGPT 4 with advanced data analysis tool that which you can analyze data within the OpenAI website. Lastly, I'm going to show you how to use GitHub Copilot within as an example data set. I'm going to use this heart attack data set, which have as a example data set. I'm going to use this heart attack data set. We have different patients admitted to the hospital because of heart attack. How long they stayed in the hospital, their age, and the hospital charges, whether they died, and different. Go to RTutor.ai, upload this data. First thing that it asks is whether you want to change the different type of the data. It does a pretty good job in guessing what it is, and this is a summary. Analyze this data. We can just start chatting from here. Just show me the distribution of charges. Very simple question. Code is written and the distribution is shown here. And you can also actually make this interactive graph. Show me the relationship between charges and length, and then this will be sent to OpenAI, and so OpenAI will return this code. The code is executed, the result is shown below. You can do quantitative analysis as well, do some data cleaning, remove missing values, and calculate the correlation coefficient. If you're done with your analysis, you can download the source code that is generated as a markdown file. You can also render a HTML report. This will contain all the analysis that was done, and you got your homework done in 5 minutes using RTutor sometimes. Another thing you can do here in RTutor is that it have a lot of exploratory data analysis functionalities built in. Summary statistics, table 1, which is used in medical field, distribution of categorical data, distribution of numerical data, and correlation, pairwise correlation diagrams. The source code of RTutor is publicly available. You could download the source code and install this app as a R package and run it locally in RTutor. And finally, we actually enable GPT-4. You can use GPT-4 for free. The second website I want to show is Chatlize. Chatlize is a much more powerful platform. Similar, you can upload your data. For example, here you can upload the heart attack data. The first prompt is automatically generated for you. AI to read the data file and print a small part of it. So you can start from here. You can see the code. This is generated by OpenAI GPT-4, and this is the first part of the data. In Chatlize, you have multiple solutions. Both solutions are fine. You ask you to show some summary statistics, and then you can keep going like this. For example, you can see plot the distribution of charges, and then this will the result. More challenging tasks. Just say something like conduct exploratory data analysis. A lot of chunks of code and a lot of result box plot. And from here you can go on build models. And key idea of Chatlize is to break a complex computational problem into many different steps. You have trial and error, and you choose the ones that are work the best, and based on this result you move forward. I was working on this. I came up with this idea of doing this way, and later on, I think it was almost exact the same time, there is a paper published out of Princeton and then Google. This is very similar to their idea of the tree of thoughts prompting, where you have their interest is solving math problems. We are serving computational problems. Obviously, here you can also download code, download the prompts, and you can generate a report, and you can also download our data file where all your intermediate data is saved, objects are saved. Next time you can upload this data and to continue your analysis. So this is almost like R Markdown or Jupyter Notebook kind of platform where you interact with the data and step by step you solve complex problems. RTutor and Chatlize are part of a small startup that I created early this spring, and I welcome any opportunities for collaboration and licensing. And some professors have been using Chatlize and RTutor for teach R coding. So that's also a very... Next, I'm going to show you how probably most people do coding with ChatGPT. For example, you come to ChatGPT and you ask for code. For example, create a simple shooting game that can run in the browser. You can see ChatGPT give me some code. I really don't know too much about CSS and JavaScript. Copy this code, paste into, save this as a HTML file. You can go to this folder, found this file, double click, what you can do to come back to here, that add some moving targets. So if you add that and do the same thing, you save, click the mouse, you have a game running in the browser. You can customize this further, want to make the targets moving horizontally instead of vertically. This is the third version. As you can see now the target moves. Okay. Without knowing anything about JavaScript, I was able to ask ChatGPT for this. I taught this to high school students in the summer camp, and they was able to think more complex games just by prompting step by step. If you want to analyze data, for example, typically you can start RStudio with a blank space, have the data set in the current folder, and then you could ask, come to ChatGPT, just dictate what kind of code you want. So here I'm saying that write R code to read the file. The file is in the current folder and show some summary statistics. I also specify the name of the columns, whether they are numeric or categorical. ChatGPT gave me this code, so I copy this code and come to RStudio. I was able to just run this code, and you could continue on from here, your analysis, or you can go back to ChatGPT asking for more chunks of code. I think this is how most people do coding using ChatGPT. The only problem that you go back and forth many times. Unlike RTutor and Chatlize, everything is in the same platform, and you can be more efficient. You can use if you have to pay for this. This is ChatGPT Plus, and then use the advanced data analysis. It used to be called code interpreter. You can upload a file. You can upload, for example, the heart attack file. The data is uploaded. You can see the code is generated. This is by default is Python code. Was read, and the first few columns is shown, and then we generate a histogram of this. Everything is happening inside OpenAI's website. The calculation was sent through API to they call sandbox, a separate computing environment where the code is run. One thing that's very remarkable is that OpenAI has the capacity to look into the chart, provided some interpretation. The most of the charges are constituted in the lower range, with a few charges extending into the higher. So this is the advanced data analysis with ChatGPT. And the last platform I will show you is the GitHub Copilot. So it works inside your editor, your code editor. It's not free. It's $10 per month for individual and $19 for business. In Visual Studio Code, for example, you have so you have to install it first. So it's installed as a plugin in Visual Studio Code. For example, you have the code that we've been writing, and all you need to do is just keep writing. You can see here a line of comments was automatically generated for you. So all you need to do is press the tab key and press enter, and the code is generated. And you obviously, if you run this first, you can see the result. You can just come and show the distribution of charges, and that's your comments. If I enter, and the code is generated by the Copilot, and hit tab, you accepted the code, and you can run that, and it's generated. So it's more interactive. You can also write functions or more complex analysis in here. I showed you 5 different ways that you can code. So as a comparison, you can see Chatlize and RTutor, and this is used to be called code interpreter, or now it's advanced data analysis. RTutor and Chatlize are free, but the advanced data analysis costs $20 a month. Copilot costs $10 a month. The advanced data analysis version of GPT-4, they only have a few hundred Python packages installed in the sandbox. You can upload multiple files, but it cannot use API to grab data from online. Have no internet connection. While RTutor and Chatlize, you could access files on the internet. On Chatlize, I installed 15,000 R packages and about 1,000 Python packages. RTutor, I have 6,000 R packages installed. Chatlize can upload multiple files, but RTutor, you can only have one single. But if you run on this platform, on these 3 platforms, you are having a free computer, virtual computer, and the resources might be limited.